Hello,
Good
everyone. Good
evening.
evening, everybody. Good evening. Can anyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Dr. Kelvin, welcome. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Christian, welcome. Good evening. Sir, welcome. Please, can you? Okay. Okay. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Are we on YouTube?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good evening. How are we doing today?
We're good.
Okay. Okay. Welcome everyone to today's section. I want us to have a habit of starting early, so it will help us to draw in what we want to learn. Okay, today we're going to learn something that is going to help us. We've been talking about the mind and how to, but today we're going to look at something very practical in terms of our learning curve and using real estate as an instrument to build wealth. And we're going to look at someone's life, someone that has been able to build wealth, and someone that's built his wealth using basically the instrument of real estate, and is a Nigerian. So that's what we're going to look at today. Other people, most people are not on this call yet. Are we connected on YouTube? So, and I hope the link is there so that people can, because the numbers I'm seeing here is quite it's quite funny. Mike, can you confirm if we're on YouTube?
Yes, sir. We are on YouTube, sir.
Okay, good. Now, so today, just remember to share the link to as much persons as possible so they can get to benefit from what we share. Now we're going to look at Chief Razak Okoya. If you play around in YouTube, you will know the person I'm talking about, Chief Razak Okoya. You would always, he's one of the richest men in Nigeria. Anytime you see people flaunting Rolls Royce, if it's 2 or 3%, Chief Razak would show up because one of his daughters and one of his wives love um, luxury so much. So, so want to know his story, know how he started, and know how he was able to build that. If you have ever used a pen, if you know about eleganza, and if you are small and you use the eleganza was made by the Eleganza company owned by Chief Razak Okoya. So if you know about the Eleganza pen, if you have used the Eleganza pen, or if you went to school and you had both the food flags, they were all Eleganzas at that time when he was a pure industrialist, though he was still doing real estate big time, is the man I'm talking about. So I don't know, anybody here, you can do either wave of hand if you've heard of Chief Razak Okoya, one, or if you have used the Leganza Biro, if you used it when you were in primary school or in nursery school, or you used it as filling bottle. Most of those filling bottles that we carry around while we were kids was produced by Eleganza.
Yes, sir, that's true.
So if any other person, if you remember that please, I want to make sure that the audience I'm talking to have an idea of who Chief Razak Okoya is. Okay, wonderful. You've met him once in Lagos. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay. Now, so one thing we must know is that we must see ourselves as one thing we must know is that we must see ourselves as lead generation machine. Lead generation machine. Why? Why are we going to do that? We're going to do that because in our business, okay, Chris says he used the Leganza pen. That's correct. We must see ourselves as lead generation machine. Very important. Because, and you must see yourself as a sales executive. Because from this story, you will see Chief Razak as a sales executive. Okay? And always know there in the multitude of people is a king honored. And what people see, they will seize. What in the multitude of people is the king's honor, and what people see is what they will seize. Is what they can be able to get acquainted with. Do you get that? So that is why it's important to know the wisdom that have made men. Because when you know this and you're able to share it, and people can pay attention to your wisdom, over time they'll be able to pay via their wallet. That is why it's important to know what has made men. You use it as an instrument to guide your own life, guide your client's life, and they will pay attention to you. And when they pay attention with their ears, after a while, they will pay attention with their pocket, meaning they will patronize you, they will buy from you. Is that okay? So now we'll look at five land banking lessons from Chief Razak Okoya. 5 land banking lessons from Chief Razak Okoya. So, and what is land banking? Most of us know what land banking is. Land banking is a process of acquiring undeveloped land. They must be undeveloped. Okay, undeveloped land and allowing it to go through pre-development stage and sell it when the place is developed. So it's the purpose of buying undeveloped land and leave it for a period of time so that it will undergo pre-development and get to development and you sell. So it's for the purpose of investment. You buy land, you keep it for over 10 years. Okay. And then from undeveloped to developed stage, right? Just like how things are raw, and then when is it something you get a fruit, just like land banking. Always remember it. Fruit. I think I'm trying to paint a scenario where you get a fruit that is not ripe. You put it somewhere, you cover it so that in the process of you covering it, it can ripen. You understand? So at that time is more fruitful. You can eat it freely, so you sell at a better price, or you can use to do other development. Now, so and land banking. So how Chief Razak was doing his own land banking. There are 5 things we are going to x-ray. One of the things he was doing is that, there are times maybe banana, I don't know, I'm just painting a scenario. Maybe women may keep banana. I remember then my mom would always get banana, she would cover it. I think she would sprinkle it water to help it and cover it and covers it to help it ripen fast. So we are looking at the activities Chief Razak does in his land banking that makes it ripen fast, that makes the place develop. So he passes through pre-development and then it gets to development within a period of 10 years, within a period of 7 years, so it brings development to that area. So one of them is he always goes against the crowd, hoping to turn the place into a city. What that means is if here is the city, okay, if this side is the city, if here is the city, right? If here is the city, and people are going here, buying lands here at this point, maybe this is a bush, everybody is going to this side of the city to buy land. Chief Razak will go here. So all the real estate companies are going here. Industrialists are buying big lands for land banking here. He will go here and buy his own. He will not go here. So it always goes against the crowd, hoping to turn the place into a city. So it goes against popular opinion, goes to where the people are avoiding. That is the place he goes to buy his own land. Does that make sense? And then what happens? So he buys very huge acres of land, acreages of land. He sells huge lands to his friends who are also industrialists to build factories. Somebody may ask me, why is this lesson important? Now, remember when I started, I said, you should see yourself as a sales executive. And that is why you're able to understand what makes this land stand out and what makes the other one stand out. That is why we're offering this class. That is why. So you have things when you're discussing with your customers that are patronizing, are buying your product, that are buying your real estate product. Within your bowels of knowledge, you have what to discuss with them. Hope this makes sense. Okay, so now it goes against popular opinion, goes where the people are avoiding. He sells huge. Then what does he do? He sells huge lands to his friends who are also industrialists. Remember the man we talked about? He was into pen. He was into food flags. He was into all babies. He was into plastic. He's still into plastic. So he runs a large industry. So he buys far more than he needs. Just like Dangote went in Obiajulu and bought 5 times what he needs. He needed just 1/5 for his refinery. He bought 5 times. So he's the biggest land banker there. So he sells huge land to his friends who are also industrialists. So to build factories and warehouse, right? So do you understand that? Remember, he's an industrialist. But we already know that even McDonald's is a real estate company. Most banks are real estate companies. Why? They will acquire the land for 50 million, right? Appreciation rate, increase it, right? Furnishing. At the end of the day, the land they bought for 500 for 200 million, they'll write it on their books for 600 million based on improvements and the rest of them and the going rate. We'll get it. So, number 2, he kept moving to new locations as development hits the previous places and the previous places become saturated. Now, how does this happen? This happens is, okay, this was Lagos. So how did this happen? Let me say it again. He kept moving to new locations. As development hits the previous places and the previous places become saturated, every city goes through that phase. I'm broadcasting this from Asaba. And then what happens in Asaba? There's a time that NBC Road was the happening place. I remember then Bon Hotel was at the center of Asaba. Is it Bon? No, it's not Bon. What's the name of the hotel again? I can't remember the name of the hotel, but
Grand Hotel.
Good, thank you. Grand Hotel. Grand Hotel was at the center of Asaba. But today is as if it's at the part of the city that everybody has left. But then we're all hearing it. Now, it looks like Elumas is at the center today. But we know that in 10 years, it will no longer be at the center because cities must move. Cities must move. Cities must move. Do you get it? So how example, so there was an Ikeja boom. So there will always be boom per city. There was an Ikeja boom, right? After the Ikeja boom, so he cashed in on the Ikeja boom. How do I mean? NBC Road has boomed, right? So in every city, let's focus on the Lagos market so we understand. So there was a time Ikeja was bushes. So he was able to buy there. He was able to catch in on that. He was able to acquire a lot of places there. And when development came, he hands off and went to another place. So that's a lot of master. So he was able to catch out from the when Ikeja was booming, he cashed in from Lekki boom, he cashed in from Obiajulu boom, and currently he's catching in on Ebe boom. Does this make sense? Okay, the last time I was in, not the last time, what time I was in Lagos sometime last year, And I saw the Legaza factories at the factory was large, but what was more larger was the land space, the fencing. As you will speed and speed and speed, and I'm still asking myself, does this land still continue? Vast land with nothing on them, just very small piece with the factory. The rest is empty land. So that is pure land banking. Okay. Now, so what happens to the factory in Ikeja? The factory in Ikeja was dismantled and sold, partitioned and sold to the people that want to get to live in Ikeja, to do some things in Ikeja. The bare lands were also sold. Does this make sense? And then they may just leave a little portion for their activity, but the main factory has been moved to where there is no development now. And then they build the factory houses, they do these things to make that place livable again. And it takes time before they wait for development. Development comes and meets them there. So that is pure genuine. So throughout the course of his life, he was able to benefit from when development, whatever city you are in, if you are in Onitsha, there was a time 3-3 was booming. Now 3-3 is off the game, that Oba. And that is just it. So it's a very smart concept for wealth. It's about trading and trading at the right time. It's about trading and trading at the right time. So do you remember what we said? That when that place becomes saturated, he will start selling what? He will start selling the saturated location or renting out the spaces. He will start selling them and renting out some spaces. So he unlocks cash because those places may be selling for 100 million, while the bushes are still selling for 1 million. So he will unlock cashes. He will unlock cash from the places that are selling for 100 million and go to the bush and invest there. But there's a small boy, maybe a young man that makes his first money. He doesn't see the beauty of the bush. He doesn't understand what the bush is like. I remember a client on our first inspection, on our first estate. We took him to the place. It's basically for land banking. And when he got down, he looked around, he saw the bushes and said, "Wow, is this where you brought me? Oh God, I can't buy here. I can't do anything here." And he sped off. And it's just 2 years down the line. And I'm sure if he goes there now, he will want it. What will happen in 10 years' time? So you see a very wealthy man selling his locations in core places that are now becoming core to go down to the deep to dig out. Okay? So always remember that everything big starts small. And the goal is to keep moving so you can milk the boom. There will always be a boom. There would always be a boom in every city. So the goal is to keep moving so that you can milk the boom. Those that milked VI, they have milked it. Victoria Island, those that milked whatever part of the town it is, there will always be a boom. There's a time where that place is pre-development. There are people that buy undeveloped, wait for pre-development, sales at development. They are the people that milk the boom. You always make money, but faster money is made when you buy when it's not developed, sell when it's developed. You buy at 1 million, you sell at 100 million. That is 10x. If somebody buy, that is 100x rather. If somebody buys at 100 million and even sells at 1 billion, that is just 10x. He has not done what you've done. Because if you carry that your funds and put it in another place that gives you another 100 x, you are way where he has to do 100 to 1 billion to 100. He has to do 100 million to 10 billion to have the kind of returns you've had. So the goal is to keep moving so that you can milk the boom in your lifetime. That is why we say real estate is a local business. real estate is a local business. You understand the city, you understand where development is growing. So you can be able to milk a lot of booms. It's not all lands you hold. Once it gets to development, it's good you release it. So you go to where that is undeveloped. So we remember that we said first one, he goes against the crowd, hoping to turn the place into a city using his network. Number one is an industrialist. Secondly, he has a network of industrialists. You know your friend. Remember what we talked last week? We said your knowledge and your skill will influence your network. So his knowledge influences his network. What did he know? He knows how to, he's an industrialist, right? He knows how to manufacture things. So he manufactures things with a scale that brings him to a circle of friends, to a network of people that manufacture, that are industrially. So he brings them in on the deal. Maybe he's done buying, he brings them in. So they help also to develop the place by starting off their own factories and bringing in activity, because he first brings up his own activity, and then next thing he carries his friends and comes and shows them, oh, see this place, my factory is here, we are doing well, I can help you, I have this land, I can sell it to you as XYZ amount, and we can enjoy our production facility here. Why the guy is there, his main money is not from selling the land to the guy. He makes his main money by the guy coming in, bringing more development. He owns vast lands there. So the guy coming closer to him, even if he sells at the same price he bought to the guy, he induces development. Remember when I started my story, I said we are looking at the things that look like the water that my mom would always sprinkle on the banana she wants to cover to get it ripe quick. So those are the tactics we are looking at. And remember, the goal is to keep milking the boom. And if you look well, you'll milk the boom. That is why, and you always notice, you didn't hear, he could have properties in Abuja, he could have properties in Lagos, but he had a concentration of where he had this, because it's local. So you have to be able to stay a place and observe what is happening. So thirdly, what he does is he finds a temporary residual income from his land banking. So the residual income, what is the residual income? The residual income here is the factory. They make profit, they earn margins. So if you're buying land, what are you thinking about? We have told you, think of the boom, to capitalize on the boom. So how many boom can you capitalize? If you are 20 years, you are less than 30, or you are 30 years, you can capitalize on every 10 years there is a boom. You can buy 40, you should cash out from a boom by 50, by 60, by 70. So every decade, you should cash out from a boom. So here is, how can you farm on the land? How can you gain residual income from the land? Are you going to go in plantation? Or are you going to have an agro processing unit? And remember, this works if you're buying in bulk. That is why you always encourage yourself to buy land in bulk. You always encourage your clients to buy land in bulk. This doesn't work when you're buying one plot, to remember. Because if you buy one plot, you only have a position. If you give it up, you have given up your position. But if you have 5 plots, you have 1 acre, you have 2 acres, you have 3 acres, you give out 2 acres, you still have a position. Does that make sense? What he does, he builds houses near the factory. Sometimes the factory workers rent the house. Sometimes there are staff that he gives the house to. That's what Chief Razak was doing. There are full-time staffs that are entitled to house. There are some that are not entitled to house that will pay for their house rent. Okay? So does that tell you something? So from your own way, can you start with a plantation? How can you earn passive income from that land? How? Are you going to lease it? Or what are you going to do with it? Are you going to farm on it? Are you going to put an agri-processing unit, assuming it's in around village setting? Are you going to put an agri-processing unit there? Maybe food processor, cassava milling or something, and the people will come and grind their cassava there, peel their cassava, and you get a return on your investment so that there is a passive income. So while you're waiting for the cash cow, while you're waiting for the cow, there is a cash flow, there is milk, you are able to milk it. Okay, so if you're paying attention, I would like us to okay, if you're paying attention, I would like you to, we have mentioned three things. We have mentioned three lessons from Chief Razak. Could you just list one? So I'm sure that we are paying attention to this class. Out of the three that we have listed of how Chief Razak was able to build his wealth, Chief Razak Okoya, what one can you say that you have had today? He doesn't follow the crowd, correct? He doesn't follow the crowd. He goes opposite the crowd and hopes to turn it to turn it into a city, correct? He plans for residual income. Okay? He plans for residual income. That's correct. Now, another thing is, remember, turning bush is the concept around land banking. He kept moving to new location. He wants to milk the boom. He kept moving to new location, hoping to milk the boom. He has foresight. Yeah, he has foresight. Turning bush is the concept around land banking. I can change my entire lineage by a single property I buy. And you can also change your lineage by a single property you buy. But the truth is you don't know the property. Yeah, that is it. A lot of one singular properties has been able to change people's life. I like stories of men that are currently living, so it makes more sense for us. So it serves as an instrument to instruct us, right? There is this pastor, I always like to share his story. The senior pastor for House on the Rock, Pastor Paul Adefarasi. It was a single land, it was a single property that changed the cost of the family and turned them to multi-millionaires in dollars. Okay, how did that happen? That happened on the basis of Pastor Paul. This Pastor Paul's true testimony. Pastor Paul's father was a civil servant. And if you know House on the Rock, okay? So how many of us knows House on the Rock Church? If you know House on the Rock Church, just type yes, I know, or I know Pastor Paul Adefarasi. So Pastor Paul Adefarasi, okay, good, good. Now, Pastor Paul Adefarasi's father was a civil servant, and at the end of his time, he had his father, Pastor Paul, his own father. Correct. Most of us knows Pastor Paul Adefarasi. His father bought a land when he retired, maybe from his gratuity or something. But he bought a land, right? And that land he could not build on it. Why could he not build on it? He was a civil servant. That was what he could afford. That place was meshy. It was a waterland. It was a wetland. Just as we know, Anwai in Asaba. All right, waterland, marshland. People couldn't farm on it. People could only that is quite is
Swamp.
swampy. Right? Yeah, it's a pure swampland. Correct, pure swampland. So what happens that as is, then Pastor Paul's father bought the land, dumped the land. After 10 years, a company came, a company that is not a foreign company came and they wanted to use to build a house They wanted a place to keep their staff for 10 years. So they had a contract in Nigeria that was to last for 10 years. So instead of them to build a house, to rent a house, they felt it's better for them to build a house and keep their staff there. And so they approached Pastor Paul's father and told him, maybe, I don't know whether they offered him to sell, but the arrangement was Pastor Paul's father refused to sell the land and told them, okay, you have your contract to stay for 10 years, build the house, don't pay me. Rent it, you have it for 10 years. Your staffs can stay there, the house is yours for 10 years, do whatever you want with it. After 10 years, I will come and collect my house. So that was the agreement. They gave them so he will come and collect his land. When he collects his land, he will invariably collect the house. So he was going to benefit by they will build the house, use it for 10 years, and he would collect his payment later when they leave by the house. So that was how a civil servant, a normal civil servant family became a multi-millionaire. And that what happens to be in VI. That house happens to be in VI. So invariably, as the story goes, the 10 years they built the house, the 10 years came, they handed the house over to the family. Pastor Paul's father used the rent. That place has now developed. It has been a powerful location. He used the rent from that house to send Pastor Paul Adefarasi and his siblings abroad to study. When you hear him speak, you will know this guy has stayed abroad for quite a while, right? And that was how he went abroad and he studied. And I'm sure that was where he met his spiritual father, Bishop T.D. Jakes. And that was how his other siblings could have, they studied in the best universities of the world. They gained good quality education. One land, right? Doing all this, right? One land. All the man did was to buy a land. All he did was to buy a land. So that was, he bought that land during the underdevelopment stage of VI. Waited through pre-development to development, and people came and collected it, built on it, handed it over to him. According to Pastor Paul Adefarasin, when later on, when their father died, Pa Adefarasin died, they sold the house. Pastor Paul says that his own share of the money was in excess of $1 million. Do you understand that? So in $1 million in today's naira is closely I don't know the exchange rate today, but it should be 1.6, 1.5 billion naira. That was his own share of the money. If not that house, he wouldn't have been able to study abroad. I don't know if it's 1 acre or 2 acres, but I know it was sizable enough to contain a lot of staff of the company that came all the way to do a foreign, a national project for 10 years. I'm sure it's not a 100 square, it's not a 500 square meter or 1,000 square meter. So does that give you a clue that when we say that turning bushes to cities, the concept around land banking, and it can change the entire lineage by just one property you buy, one. So Pastor Paul Adefarasin is still alive, and the story is still verifiable. So it's not like a story that you hear and you don't know where the people are. But some of us don't know, and the people you're selling to may not know. So number 4 is he diversify the purpose of land banking investment. What does it mean by he diversifies his purpose of land banking investment? So you learn to be flexible, You to have multiple diversification for land banking. Now, there are locations that you look out. So when somebody says, oh, I have a lot of land in Asaba. Oh, I have a lot of land in Ibuzo. That's very beautiful. I have a lot of land in VI. Excellent. I have a lot of lands in Karishi in Abuja. I have a lot of lands in Kasana. That's beautiful. Now, but what it's trying to say is have them in different locations where you are cashing out, because he doesn't give up. Remember why we are reading the boom stage from Ikeja to I think from Ikeja to Lekki. He didn't give up everything in Ikeja. Remember, we said he sold some and rented some out as spaces, right? Now, here, what is happening here is there are places that you're mounting out for residential estate. There are places you are mounting out as factory estates, that's industrial layouts. There are places that are pure rent out. There are places that are sold out. Does this make sense? So there are places you build house to sell. Okay, the fourth point is diversify the purpose of land banking investment. You buy land for a reason. We always know that when a client walks up to me, there's something I always ask. I ask them, why are you buying the land? Yeah. If you come up to me and tell me, oh, I have $1 million, take it, invest for me in land. The first question I will ask you is, why are you buying? Before I touch the money, before I will send account details to you, I will first of all ask you, why are you buying? Because it's when I know, when I had a client that was reading, just go ahead, buy. I said, it's okay, it's beautiful, but I want to know, why are you buying? So that is what he's talking about here. He diversifies the purpose of the land banking investment. So you don't focus on, oh, it's only residential estate we are doing. Oh, it's only factory estates we are doing, only industrial layouts. Because you could have focused on only industrial layout. That's why when you go to Lagos till today, you will see some eleganza estates that people live in. There are industrial estates owned by Eleganza. There are places that are sold out completely. So you don't have anything about Eleganza there. They just parcellated the lands when development came and sold it out. There are places that there are houses and people are living in them, but they are under rent. The people there don't own it. They keep paying rent to the Eleganza, to the Razak or to the Okoya's dynasty. Some time back we talked about building a bulletproof. I can't remember the topic again, but we talked about building a fail-proof personal economy, and that's what we see here in diversifying the purpose of his land banking investment. But this was done when he had bread. Remember when we say it's when you have bread that you can cast it on waters, so that after many days you will have them back. Not when you don't have bread, though. Because remember, it's the first, he will leave some and go, rent some, sell some, and then some will still be remaining. Does this point make sense? So there are places that you're mapping out for. So you don't go and house all your investments within a particular location. So there are places for the real estate, residential estates, there are factories that he does, there are sold out areas. I'm buying this place, I'm going to sell it off. That's sold out areas. Okay, I'm buying this place. Later on, I'm going to sell some, I'm going to build on some, and I'm going to rent it all. I'm not going to sell the houses. Now, there are places that I'm going to build the houses, and I'm going to sell off the houses. Does this make sense? So that should instruct us. Okay. Then number 5, he kept repeating the process once he buys. And you know what that does? It increases artificial brokenness. So he kept repeating that process. And what happens is he would always be broke, now. If you are constantly investing, you will be broke. You will be broke. You will be broke. It's called artificial brokenness. Artificial brokenness. You are broke, but you know you are not broke. You tend not to have financially. You are currently unable to dispense cash. That's the language. Currently unable to dispense cash, but there is cash somewhere, because he's actively repeating this process. And what are the processes we talked about? We said he goes against the crowd. So if the crowd are running to a particular city to invest, he goes this way. And hoping to turn this place into a city. You remember that he keeps moving to new locations, so that he can milk the boom from development, pre-development to development, right? And then he finds a temporary residual income, either through a plantation, through leasing of the land, through getting farm hands, but through his own case was using his industry, which is as industrialist, to get residual income from it. All right? And remember, this is workable when you are not buying one plot. You are not the land banker if you are buying one plot. That is why it's really easier if when you show your client, when you show your customer this blueprint, you are able to help them to create an abundant life so that they don't lose their position in the place that will become the the Miriam Babangida of tomorrow, or the banana island of tomorrow. But when you have one position, when you have one plot, you have one acre, it's easy to lose your position. Okay? So let's remember. And then it says it diversifies the purpose of his land banking investment, which is what you must do. And then you have to form artificial brokenness. Practice it. When you are done investing and it seems like there is no money, if you play Monopoly at times, when you finish buying properties in the game of Monopoly, and that is how it is in life. You now look, there is no money. Before you know it, somebody will land on one of your properties and then you will collect your rent. That is the same here. But if you're always having cash, when you go to the nearest cash stand, you will have an inclination to want it. And there's a funny thing that happens. Money discourages effort. I think that was why he's able to build a powerful dynasty. Money discourages effort. So watch yourself. When you have a lot of funds at your disposal, there are things you may not want to do. So maybe what you see as too much money, maybe it's 10 million. So when you have 10 million, you don't do much. When you have 100 million, if you're looking at 1 billion as too much money, funny enough, when you have 1 billion, you will not do much. When you have 200 million as, and why, if you see 100 million as you are finished, but there's nothing there. The day your money will get down to 100 million, your brain will start working faster. You start thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to create wealth? So you can have so much money in the bank and you become lazy. Did you hear what I just said? You can have so much money in the bank and you can become lazy. If it's in my dialect, they would say, nodana, the beaver. That there are things, so you should sit down and you should keep eating. So always know that you have to invest to do what? To practice artificial brokenness. Because money is a servant and is a messenger. And the biggest enemy of business is money in the bank. The biggest enemy of business is money in the bank. It's money in the bank. The biggest enemy of business is money in the bank because it makes people lazy. Oh, they are sure that their allowance will be paid because we have money in the bank. Let's relax. If they are not sure that their allowance will be paid, there is no. Everybody will wake up from the top to bottom. Will be awake. So the same thing with you. And that was what Oga was practicing by repeating that process. And remember, someone will say you can start land banking when you don't have much money. Because here, where are we talking? We're talking of somewhere 1 hour away from the city center. We're talking of places 45 minutes away from city center. We're not talking about the city. We're talking of places 1 hour away from the city center, where the city will be in 10 years, where the city will be in 5 years. Those are the places we are talking about. So they are not 100 million, they are not 500 million, they are not 200 million. There are places you can buy for 5 million. Currently, we have an estate that is just 32 minutes away from city center and with already good development. What other land banking opportunity do you need? So you remember, you can start when you don't have much money. bush to city strategy of land banking. Do you understand? So that's the concept, the 5 concepts we have shared today. I hope it makes sense for you. I hope you're able to, when you're discussing with your clients, I hope you're able to teach them this so they can see that you understand the industry you're playing in. And hope you can also use it for your life so that you will not be selling prosperity and look like someone from the Strugglers Hall of Fame. So please that, okay? Because selling is helping, selling is sharing. In the multitude of people is the king's honor. And what people see, they would always seize. Okay, so I want to know what have we been able to learn? Our time is how many minutes more? Let's see. Okay, we still have time. So I want to know, did anybody pick anything from this? We looked at Chief Razak Okoya. So I want to know, did any one of us pick anything from this section? And what are you going to apply? Maybe why discussing with your clients, why building your own financial fortress? What are you going to apply? Hello, are we still here?
Okay, we are here.
Hello.
Hello.
My
Hello.
network. Yes, we can hear you. My network went off.
Okay. Okay, I said it was a nice class and the steps that Chief Razak Okoya took that brought him to where he is today. I think, permit me to say that Latera is taking some of these steps, and I think it's a good one. Then, one of the things that stood out for me this night is I know that money discourages efforts, but I didn't know that the biggest thing is money in the bank. Oh, so that means the money in my bank, I should all use them for business, because looking at them will make me think I have more money or I have a lot of money, which literally, if I put it into the business, then when my eyes open that there is need for more morning. So thank you, sir. The steps that Chief Razak Okoya took, I think growing up, I will have to start taking most of them so that one day I can more like him, if not above him. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So practically, who can tell us one steps? Okay, somebody says turning bushes into cities, one of the concepts of land banking. Okay, yeah, that's what I practically said. So, in your own words, who can tell us what he has been able to learn and what he's going to implement? Like Chris has told us. So, I would like the beauty of us discussing this is so that it imprints on your own memory. Okay, it imprints on your own memory, and you remember that, and that helps you. Okay, one of our projects is a direct replica of what we studied today. And you know one thing about life, what is working is working. Yeah, what is working is working. So what is working is working. What is working is working. So who else? And there was something he was doing. He was bringing the people that needed the customers, that had the customer before they need him. And just like as a salesman, you always need the people that has the customer before they need you. Now he was bringing industrialists, right? And the industrialists, they will have suppliers. Some of their suppliers at a point will be angry and come to factory to carry their goods themselves. Is it not? They will supply some. Some will come to the factory. When they come to the factory, what happens? They're seeing vast land. Hey, this place, this factory is, there's empty land here. I can do small something here. Do you understand? Because two is better than one because they have a better reward for their labor. So he was also tweaking that tactics of who has the customer before they need you. So who has the customer before they need me? Who has the customers? So you as a, who has the customer that you're looking for? You're selling a 50 million naira land. You're selling a 12 million naira land. Who has the customer? They can be your priest. Who has the customer? They can be the head of cooperatives. Who has the customer? It can be the head of it can be some principals, it can be some students, it can be that guy that has a lot of influence and commands a lot of his friends. It can be that choleric sanguine, right? So who has the customer before they need you? So who else? Who else has something to share for us? Why we learn is so that we can discuss this. If there are things you want to discuss on topic, let's discuss it. Okay, good. Somebody
Okay,
wrote
good
something.
evening.
Yeah, good
Good
evening.
evening, sir.
Okay, good
Uh,
evening.
I
Dr.
have
Calvin.
written down something before now, but it's like he doesn't see it, so I decided to speak up.
Okay, please speak up. Oh, I did
Okay.
not see it. I went offline.
Okay. Thank you for the insightful teaching this evening. Mainly, I would say what stand out more for me in the lesson of Razak Okoya is when you talked about he practiced land banking majorly by buying in bulk. So for me, I think both for myself and my customers, I will need to practice and also preach more on buying in bulk because it's always good when you have it in bulk so that when the land moves from the undeveloped to pre-developed and then developed stage, you don't just sell the little you have and then you are left with nothing. Because if you have just one plot or two, you sell, then you have nothing. So the practice was more of he buys in bulk so that when it gets to that time, he sells some and still has something to keep. So that stood out for me. So majorly is to practice land banking mainly by buying in bulk, buying the plots, buying the lands in bulk, so that you still have some you keep after you release some. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Beautiful, beautiful. And Charity says, what I learned that stood out for me is that he buys far more than he needed. Correct. This concept of land banking will give me an edge in business because owning one plot is just like owning a portion. Yeah, I call it a position. So moving forward in investing, I will buy more so that when I want to sell, I will not lose my position. Yeah, so you will not lose your position. Okay, that's beautiful. And believe we've learned something in this class. And I want to call it a day. And I've enjoyed my time teaching us and sharing what I've learned from men that have gone ahead as instrument of instruction to us. So let's use it and let's build a phenomenal life because abundance awaits. So let's learn abundantly today. So we will live abundantly tomorrow. Have a beautiful evening, everyone, and God bless us.
Have a beautiful evening too, sir. God bless you. We are grateful for the teaching.
You're welcome. Bye. Bye.